Makes me think of
We are live, everybody. Hey, everybody. Another installment of Maha Cybertruck Talks, Cyber Talks, here right now with Gabriel Cornejo, independent candidate for Congress, and America's wingman,
Dean Reed.
Dean Reed, and Damo. Let's go.
Let's go.
How we feeling, buddy?
Oh man, I'm excited to be here, and I appreciate you having me on the program.
What do you think of the Cybertruck?
I will tell you that this is my first time in a Cybertruck, so this is every little boy's dream to have a real life, playful Tonka trunk, and this is exactly what I would expect it to be.
And it kind of doubles as an amazing podcast studio too. Just trying to get the air on here, so it's a little bit hot.
Yeah,
bit cool.
I got 3 layers now.
You got really good. I
layers.
want to just say you look fantastic.
Thanks, man.
There's a 3-piece suit with a nice vest, looking really sharp.
Normally, you're
very
the one that comes
presidential.
with charisma, so I had to step up.
Well, I'm just the Maha inspector with my high visibility orange
Safety
vest
first.
on.
Safety
first,
yeah.
fun first.
Yeah.
All right, so Gabriel, we met at the Bobby Kennedy event at Area 51 in Las Vegas.
Yep.
At the time, what were you doing?
Doesn't that feel like a lifetime ago?
It was February 4th.
Woo! Okay. Well, I guess, at that time I was running for president of the United States, right?
You were running for president of the United States. In what capacity were you running for president of the United States?
I was running on the Democratic presidential primary.
Okay, that's what Bobby was going to do.
Yep, exactly. That's exactly what he was talking about doing, only he had some rationale as to why he didn't want to do it. And for me, I lived that experience. And just for context at home, Bobby said, hey, this is not going to be a fair race, and that the Democratic Party was going to do everything it possibly could to rig the race in favor of Biden. And I lived that experience.
Lived that experience. You felt it. It was not a very fair primary. How democratic would you say is the Democratic Party?
Well, I'll tell you. So not only did I not feel it, I also documented it, right? So because part of this process, I'm not independently wealthy, but I am an agent for advocating for change. So part of this process, I wanted to bring people up to speed and be transparent. And I also wanted to educate people along the way, because prior to this, I was doing how-to videos of various things. Well, I started out saying how to run for president of the United States. And in this process, discovering that the Democratic Party kept myself and my fellow presidential candidates off the ballot in Florida, North Carolina, Tennessee, me specifically because I'm not a millionaire, off of the ballot in Massachusetts, and a few other examples, showing that the Democratic Party may provide the lip service about being protectors of democracy, but their actions showed you completely otherwise, showed me wholeheartedly.
Well, now we can look back and see very clearly that the entire primary process was a complete ruse.
Sure.
And Biden I don't think there was any possibility that he was actually going to be the nominee come this November. And sure enough, they selected Kamala and they celebrated at the DNC in Chicago. Did you go to Chicago? Were you at the DNC?
I sure did. So just for context, people, I want you to understand, not only was the primary, the act of selecting Biden, that process was rigged, but then the reason why most of us jumped in the race is because we saw the mental acuity that was lacking for Biden in his future term. Of course, knowing that was the case, and maybe I'm just naive, or maybe I was just hopeful that somebody not named Biden would win, or at least challenge for the primary, I found out very intimately that was not possible. And then when he stepped down, because once he had that terrible performance on the debate stage, which I knew was going to happen because I challenged him, because we had several presidential debates, nationally televised. And I called out Biden on stage several times for not showing up. And the reason why he didn't show up is because he was not mentally capable. So when that came to fruition against Trump and he stepped down, of course, that was the moment that we expected. Okay, here is an opportunity for the nomination process, which typically takes place at the National Convention, where you have all the delegates under one roof, giving anybody who is presumably going to be a challenger or a nominee the opportunity to pitch their vision for America. And when that was stripped away, and how it was stripped away, for those that don't know, typically the delegates vote in person at the National Convention. The Democratic Party moved to have a virtual nomination process, which is not standard. And not only did they move to have it virtually done, but they also put requirements on anybody to challenge Kamala Harris, because that's what they did, was they anointed Kamala Harris. They said, anybody that wants to challenge her for the nomination, you need to get 300 signatures from the delegates. Now, think about the logistics of what that means. You have to know who the delegates are. You have to have their contact information, and then you have to know who is open and isn't already committed to Kamala. Well, who controls those lists? The Democratic Party does. So none of us challengers, myself, Marianne Williamson, Frankie Lozada out of New York, none of us could get in touch with the delegates or get the list from the parties. And when I mean parties, I mean the state parties. We had no path to actually challenge Kamala Harris. And therefore, from my vantage, this is how you rig the nominating process and anoint Kamala Harris.
Yeah, not very democratic. Really the antithesis of democracy. And I feel like, personally, I believe that everything they have been saying is utter projection and downright lies.
Well, that's what the whole principle is. Let's provide the nice rhetoric, make it seem like we're this type of presentation, but the action reflects otherwise. And I've been a lifelong Democrat. So for me, obviously, I knew this race was going to be full of obstacles, right? Because power doesn't just release power. You have to fight for it. I understand that. But never in my wildest dreams did I ever think that this degree of obfuscation of the process for having a free and fair election was going to take place. And it's blatant on its face. And for me, being the person that's communicating that and sharing my experience, and America's wingman, he was there to bear witness to all this as well. Us telling people that this took place makes us bad guys, because now here we are, we're supposed to fall in line, but that's not what leaders do.
Yeah, I don't think, because we were at the DNC too, and at one point, they had a lineup of thousands of people. Oh, but they didn't let you into the DNC.
Yeah, so fair point to mention. So between three of us, myself, Marianne Williamson, Frankie Lozada, there were 600,000 votes, primary voters. And
wow, 600,000.
600,000 people voted for us, folks. And none of us got an invite. And I tried. Tom Perez, who was the former chair of the DNC, was there. I approached him. I said, hey, Tom, I'm sure this was just an oversight. Can you help us get an invite and get into the DNC? He said, I'm no longer the chair. Sorry, can't help you. And I said, I understand, Tom, but you do know people. And he said, sorry, can't help you. So then I went to Kamala Harris's campaign manager, and I approached her and I said, I'm sure this is just an oversight that three of us didn't get an invite. Help us get in. She's like, sure. Pass me along to her staff right there in person. Nothing ever came of that also. Then there was another, I won't tell you who, but there was another popular senator who I approached as well, offered to help. We got nowhere. When I went to the actual convention, trying to get in the door, trying to find somebody to let us in, it's a wonder. Nobody knew who I was.
You're not welcome. This was their coronation party. It was not a convention. There was no democracy in play. I even talked to a bunch of the press members. Like, they were in cold little tent and not treated with any respect, given no access.
Sure.
While there's this whole fleet of influencers who are being paid to be there, who've been flown in to be there, and they're given the red carpet treatment.
Yep.
So this is like, this again, they're manufacturing reality. This is the matrix projection of what they want you to believe they represent, and it is really far from it. So anyways, let's put the Democratic Party behind us. Like,
I wish I could say that though. Like, I'm currently running for Congress as an independent.
Okay, so that's what I want to get to. Yep. It's the title, independent candidate Gabriel Cornejo.
Yes.
Where are you running for Congress?
So I'm running to represent America's funnest district, right? And that would be District 1 in Las Vegas, Nevada.
Okay. That's got the strip in it, right?
That's the strip. That's a strip. So
cool. Let's make that strip independent.
This person should be representing that district, but we have a 73-year-old, 14 years in Congress, Democrat, and so my race has been
73 years old, 14 years in Congress, full-on incumbent. And is there any challenge? What about on the Republican side? Is there?
Yeah, there's a challenger, but typically this district has been pretty blue, solidly blue. There was a midterm redistricting that took place, so maybe there's a vulnerability there.
Okay.
Ultimately, the reason why I got into that race is I'm still advocating for change for families and community. Like I think that our nation needs better vision than what is currently being offered.
Yeah.
It had been offered.
Well, I mean, even like aside from anything else, it's like you're not 73 years old. You're
Nope.
not 14-year incumbent.
Yep.
You've been living a life full of experience, understanding the nature of the political game. I mean, this is fantastic. You're excellent. Would be an excellent, you know, representative, in my opinion, especially because I know we've had a lot of talks too about listening to the will of the people, and to be, you know, an independent candidate that is listening to the constituents and involving and integrating them into the decision-making process. You know, that is the future of democracy, in my opinion.
For sure.
So you're running as an independent in District 1 in Nevada.
Correct.
And are you on the ballot?
I am not presently on the ballot. So as a independent, I have to get signatures. And so I submitted double the signature requirement. And so when I talk about I can't get rid of the Democratic Party just yet, the obstacles that are put in place as an independent, no other, the Democrats and the Republicans don't have to collect signatures. So independents do, okay? But through this process, I've been denied access to the ballot because of 8 signatures.
8?
8. So
8 that was part of your package, or they determined, they threw out,
they said
we collected double,
collected double,
and then they're throwing out half plus 8.
52% of my signatures they are throwing out. Okay, and so I audited the county's audit of my signatures. First and foremost, they weren't supposed to audit my signatures because I didn't meet the threshold of having less than 90% of the signature requirements. Then, once they did the audit, I found that there were 35 signatures that they should have qualified. So I sent that appeal to the Secretary of State. The Secretary of State took 6 weeks to do his audit of my audit, which it took me 3 days to do an audit of the county's audit first. Okay.
The Secretary of State, Democrat?
It is he is a Democrat. Okay, so this is important context. Okay, because the incumbent, Dino Titus, a Democrat. So, and I was a Democratic presidential candidate, which means the people that I'm going to resonate with are potentially Democrats. Okay, so if you're following the clues,
and I feel like you also, like, you Cornejo, like, you know, there's a okay. Mr. Beast is joining us, folks. Very, very exciting. So I was just saying, Cornejo, like you represent a very large community.
Yeah, well, 40% of my constituency in District 1 happen to be Hispanic. So it makes every sense in the world that I, being Hispanic as well, that might impact the race in some way.
Especially at preaching and, like, you know, talking and opening and engaging, like fomenting, trying to reignite democracy. So the Democrats continue to attack, and they've challenged you. They put resources into keeping you off the ballot here,
including to the point now that I have to go through the process and go to court just to fight to get my name on the ballot.
And I mean, how much time until the ballots get printed?
So the unofficial deadline was supposed to be the 6th, but the hard cutoff date is Saturday. This Saturday. Because they have to send out ballots for international voters. So right now we're in Denver, but I've been on calls all day with attorneys trying to source solutions, because my file that I filed against the Secretary of State is in a holding pattern because the judge won't take action just yet based on the arguments I presented. There's another candidate that also presented his arguments in the very same manner that I have had the same challenges, which is the Secretary of State is not allowing a lot of my signatures for these reasons.
Mental. If you don't make it on the ballot, if we wake up on Sunday and we're not on the ballot, what do you do?
I mean, the fight doesn't stop.
I know, but like, what do you do, like, you know, within District 1? Like, because you're not gonna be able to get on that ballot, so you're not gonna have any chance of winning that district. And like, you know, the Democrat machine is going against you. Like, is this an opportunity? Is this like Maha? Is this one of those things where it's like, you know, should strategically, would you ever consider, like, you know, supporting the Republican challenger, because they're the only one that's gonna be on the ballot there, right?
Well, there's actually a few nonpartisans that are also on the ballot there. The consideration is going to be around I don't know. His name is Robertson. Okay, I don't know his politics well enough to make a decision on that. So
well, I think
my
you should.
research
I
would-
think you should. I think you should meet with him, and you should probably do it like see if you can get a podcast, like do a live interview with him,
Sure.
and just have an open discussion about how do we make unity happen, how do we
Yeah.
how do we make Vegas great again, and
Well, why don't we focus on getting me on the ballot?
let's get you on the ballot. No, absolutely. So what?
Yeah, I hear
let's
you.
focus on
I
that.
hear you.
So what can we do right now towards like what
Okay,
what
so
can move the needle in these couple
For
3 days?
your audience, what I need help with, I need legal guidance, and that's truthfully that's what it's going to take, because I had to file pro se, okay, meaning I had to represent myself because I could not find an attorney to represent me, because most of the attorneys in Nevada are either for Democrats or Republicans.
Mhm.
Now, it's advantageous for a Republican attorney to get involved, to have me on the ballot. Why? Because that would take away votes from Dina Titus. So regardless of what side of the aisle you're on, if you're on the Republican side, it's advantageous for me to be in the race. But if, at the very least, if you're interested in supporting an independent who's eager to represent people, not just a party,
Mhm.
then getting me on the ballot is the first and only step that I'm going to focus on until this window is completely shut. And that, to me, right now, is because I don't have the background of how to file this suit. I've followed steps with another candidate who's already had some success and mirrored exactly what he's done, and I'm still in a holding pattern. So I need some legal guidance or some legal representation, one or the other, because at the moment's notice, if I need to fly out to Carson today, even though we're at this national convention, I will do so, because I'm prioritizing this over everything else. So that's what I could use some help. If anybody has any guidance that they can offer on that front or resources, that's what needs to happen between now and Saturday.
Got to get you to Bobby's ballot access attorneys.
I actually am in communication with his attorney.
Good.
He was out of the country and he's been guiding now that he's back. So I just
You know,
got off the phone
and
with
Nick
him.
Brana, the head of ballot access, is here as well.
Okay.
And like, you know, there's a bunch of
Yeah, so
a
there's
bunch of the
people that I
Kenley
want to
team
connect with.
is here. So there's great resources here.
Absolutely.
You know, I've got to jump on a panel in 10 minutes.
Yeah.
But how can people follow you?
All right, so Twitter at gacornejo.com, not .com, .cornejo. But I'm also on TikTok and Instagram, the Gabriel Cornejo. And then if you want to see my policies and follow my works, if you're not on social media at all, Gabriel or gab24.com. That'll get you to my website, and I post everything, including all the references that I made about how the primary was rigged. I have actual recording of things that I think you would care about, like the Florida Democratic Party, where I challenged them in their first town hall for all the candidates. They didn't know they invited me. And I said, why didn't you let any of the presidential candidates on the ballot? And you want to see what the result was, because honestly, it was astounding to watch it take place. I have that stuff uploaded. All this stuff is available for you. And if you want to keep in touch, that's the best way, because I've documented it all.
Yeah, and I think, like, you know, part of this is, it's not necessarily about the destination, but it's the journey. And I mean, I feel like you've probably learned so much in this journey.
Oh, absolutely.
And, you know, we're trying to achieve some very large, feats and tasks and you know, milestones in this. But, you know, like, it's like this event, even with Bobby, like, choosing to kind of endorse Trump, I think he made the realization that, look, if he stayed in this and it was a close race,
Yeah.
like, you know, these Democrats, like, they're going to pull out no stops towards that. So if it's close at all, like, basically it's like, you know, I would give a very high probability. So yeah, I think Bobby would just recognize, like, you know, we need to win in a landslide here. And we need to make this about we the people, and
Yeah,
we need
for sure.
this unity coalition. And, you know, Donald Trump is definitely a name, a word, a person, a persona that has been extremely charged. Like, you know, and a lot of hate and, like, you know, this TDS. I mean, Nicole Shanahan made a whole video about, like, TDS.
Yeah.
And she had suffered from it before too,
Sure.
until she decided to run as independent. And being a lifelong Democrat, like, all of a sudden, as she made that, it's like the knives came out, like, just like, you know, shredding her. And like, wow, they're saying this about me.
Yep.
Maybe I should reflect and reconsider everything they said about, you know, Trump. And I think she's gone through kind of that. But at the end of the day, it's like, you know, this like governance and democracy and the republic and civic engagement and civic participation, it's about more than making a single mark on a ballot or making multiple marks on a ballot every 4 years. It's about, I mean, from my perspective, we need to become more engaged and increase the level of discourse on topical issues. And
yeah, so one of the things that I pride myself in doing, I've lived in 11 cities, 2 countries, so I don't wear a jersey because I understand all these different perspectives from the places I've lived in, right? But one of the things that I've garnered a knack for is the ability to break down subjects so that way it's digestible to everybody. And because of all those vantages I've seen life through, I know how to frame things. So whatever lens you see life through, I usually have an argument for you to digest it and consider. And that's really what it comes down to, is because we all care about our loved ones. And how do we get there? Well, there's common interest and understanding, but if you never hear an argument from the lens that you hear things through and see things through, then how are you supposed to have comprehension from both sides?
Yeah, and are you intent? Do you love Vegas? Are you gonna be? You see yourself staying in Vegas for a while?
I love Vegas, I do, and I've got family there. Ultimately, I'm interested in getting involved and being of service. So I was in a near fatal car accident in 2011, and that changed my life forever. I care about trying to create better human conditions for us, creating the conditions for all of Americans to find fulfillment. And so whatever that looks like, whatever path that leads me down, to make sure that I'm able to make those efforts towards doing so, kind of like Bobby and his decision to support Trump. He sees that as an avenue for him to implement things that he was fighting for. I'm still of that same mentality. It's like, what's the next best thing for me to be able to make this impact that I think is of value for society?
And how old is Titus?
Titus is 73 years old.
73 years old. How old are you?
I just turned 42.
42. Okay, 73, 42, 31 years.
Yeah.
Okay, so like no matter what happens over the coming days or this cycle, I think huge win, no matter what.
Of course.
And I think the next thing is going to be looking 26 and 28.
Yeah, for sure.
And whether it's Congress, whether it's Senate, whether it's county, whether it there are many different ways that, and this is one of the hopes I'm hoping that come out of the INC is people leave like ready to go and ready to serve and put themselves into positions of representation.
Of course.
And we're developing tool sets here at the INC to be able to support an independent movement
100.
so that everybody doesn't need to hire a big campaign team to do all this stuff. It's like Sam Walton with Walmart.
Sure.
He didn't make, why Walmart was so successful wasn't that every Walmart was different. It was checklists. It was here is what we've got to do to set up a functioning store, and made it very repeatable, and was able to repeat this kind of franchise model, if you will, or corporate franchise model, and it worked fantastically. And that is the same lesson that we should be taking with regards to independent candidates and the independent movement. Campaigns all have many things in common, and things are changing. We've got technology like we've never had before, and there's an opportunity to really upgrade and far surpass even what the two big parties are using through the power of social, of data, of AI, of engagement, of activations, of grassroots. So to everybody out there who's considering running for some sort of office, whether it's city councilor, whether it's water board, school board, Congress, Senate, state Congress, state Senate, there are many options. And a lot of these positions are very accessible. And with the backing of the independent movement, so long as we're, I suppose, morally and at a high level, purposefully aligned, there's a big family that was going to want to support these and provide tools and infrastructure towards helping engage the community and stepping into.
This is the original technology of pulling people together. The gravitational pull of the convention is pulling all these people, like-minded individuals, together. And now we have other tools like this to be even greater with our reach, to pull more people together, because we all see across this country what's happening to this country. under the current direction that's been offered. And that's why the independent voter bloc has grown so significantly from cycle to cycle. And especially in Nevada, we have mostly independents. And so things like this, people are actively looking for. So your podcast is going to be one such resource to pull more people together. So I appreciate you doing this first and foremost.
I appreciate you, brother. And I appreciate America's wingman.
Do what I can.
Reed.
Do what I can.
Dean, what's it like being America's wingman?
Oh, how long do we got left?
We got 1 minute.
It's amazing. It's amazing. No, it's been an amazing journey, and yeah, I'm there with Gabriel. I want to provide the most value that I can and make the most change possible. So we're in this. Let's make it happen.
And for a fun fact, ladies and gentlemen, he was not involved or interested in politics at all prior to me running it. So
I curse this man's name every day.
What a journey, though. I mean, goodness gracious. All right, Gabriel, thank you, brother. Love you, man. America's wingman. This is my wingman. This is Maha's wingman. Let's go. Mr. Beast, how we feeling? All right, great. That's enough of you. Be quiet, Mr. Beast. We love you. All right, let's go engage, and we're gonna go do a panel to talk about experiences from the campaign, working in the campaign. This should be a tell-all panel. Lots of gossip.
Stay tuned.
So much gossip. All right, stay tuned, stay free. Maha, woo! 1, 2, 3, Maha.
Maha.
Maha. Mahani.